President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have spoken for the first time since the release of the Mueller report. Mr. Trump said he and Putin discussed several matters. He says they briefly talked about the Russia probe, but Mr. Trump said he did not warn Putin not to meddle in next year's election. This as the Democrat-led House Judiciary Committee has given Attorney General William Barr a deadline to turn over an unredacted copy of the Mueller report. Steve Dorsey is at the White House with more. Steve, good morning.
Anthony, good morning. The call between the two leaders lasted more than an hour, with the Kremlin signaling Mr. Trump and Putin plan to ramp up dialogue with each other.
I had a very good talk with President Putin.
Following a meeting with Slovakian Prime Minister Peter Pellegrini in the Oval Office, President Trump described a warm conversation with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin.
We talked about many things. Venezuela was one of the topics, and he is not looking at all to get involved in Venezuela.
But that's at odds with assessments from his own administration, including Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who's due to meet next week with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at a summit in Finland.
The Russians have people working over there in the hundreds, if not more. These are the folks who are actually controlling the direction of travel for Venezuela.
Pompeo also says the U.S. won't rule out military intervention in Venezuela to aid opposition leader Juan Guaido. It's a move that could threaten to escalate tensions there with Russia. In his call with Putin, the president says he also indicated he'd be open to an agreement with Russia and China to reduce some nuclear firepower. The two also discussed North Korea, Ukraine, trade, and the Mueller report.
He actually sort of smiled when he said something to the effect that it started off as a mountain and it ended up being a mouse. But he knew that because he knew there was no collusion whatsoever.
But Democrats aren't smiling on Capitol Hill, where House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerrold Nadler issued a new demand Friday for Attorney General Bill Barr to turn over an unredacted Mueller report and underlying materials by Monday at 9 a.m., or the committee will move to contempt proceedings. It comes after Barr was a no-show at a House hearing Thursday after testifying for 5 hours to the Senate Judiciary Committee the day before. Democrats accused Barr of lying to Congress about Robert Mueller's concerns about his initial conclusions of the report. In a Friday letter to Mueller, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham asked him if he felt Barr misrepresented their telephone conversation and his Senate testimony this week. Meanwhile, it appears unlikely the president will allow former White House lawyer Don McGahn to testify to lawmakers about him disobeying in order to remove Mueller as special counsel. Drika?
Thank you, Steve Dorsey at the White House.